Hey you all, I wanted to share a story with you all about this little fishing bait. So back in July, it was the first weekend of July, the last weekend of June, first weekend of July, Chris and I had went fishing down at my family's farm. And he was using a bait and a little crankbait, and he lost it and got hung up, and it was his favorite bait, and he ended up having to just cut his line and leave it behind. And when we went fishing, we'd fished several times in between July and the middle of September, but towards the end of September, so I think it was September 22nd and 23rd, we went fishing and down at the farm again and then camped. And when we went fishing that time, we decided to float the entire length of the river out to the holler, and we had never done that. So we got fishing, and whenever I was reeling something in, my line was hung, and when I kept reeling in, I could see that there was a bait on the other end. Well, I like to keep like unique stuff, so I have this jar, and I keep, like unique items or things, that are special or just neat. Like this feather my kids brought from their granny's farm. So I stuck it in there. This was a corn shuck, and I don't remember the sermon, but it was, there's two of them, and it was the first service that Chris attended with me at my dad's church, and I kept them because he had given those out, and I thought that was neat, to keep. I have this. It was a flower that Carissa picked for me kayaking. And I have a snake rattler that Carissa found when he was out working. Actually, he had killed the snake and then took the rattler. That's how that happened. And then there's this, and I forget the story behind this, but it's something to do with a bullet and after being shot or I don't know, but it was neat. So Carissa told me about it and I kept it. And then Olivia had made me a necklace, and I put it in there. So it's just kind of a jar of neat stuff I find or things that are sentimental. And so anytime, like if we're out and I see something cool, then I always want to get it, and I always think about wanting to get it and try to put it in my keepsake jar. So it's just a bunch of random stuff, but it's stuff that's neat for, I like keeping it. So when I was reeling it up, that's exactly what I told him I was going to do with this bait. And at that time, it was completely muddy and dirty, and you couldn't tell anything about it. So I'd stuck it in our kayak box, and actually I'd forgot about it. And we've went wade fishing and stuff since then, and I had never noticed it, which I hadn't taken my kayak box. We had taken pouches, but so the other night we were downstairs and we were getting stuff ready. We're going to Lake Okeechobee, and we were kind of seeing what gear we needed and what all we were, going to need, and just looking at the tackle, and he could see it hanging out of my box. He saw that the crankbait I'd found. And like I said, it was covered in mud. I mean, you couldn't do nothing about it. And so he told me, he said, there's that crankbait that you wanted. He was laughing. He said, there's that bait you wanted to keep. And I said, yeah, so I'm going to get it out and take it upstairs and put it in my box. So I worked, and it was hung all in, hung up. It was all hung, trying to get it out of my kayak box. And we finally get it loose, and as the light catches it, and like I said, it was so muddy, but as the light catches it, and as the light caught it, Chris realized that this was his bait. And he started wiping the top of it, and he could see, I'll put it up close in case you can see, but he could see the brand, and he could see that like purpley pearl effect. that was done on it. And he told me, he said, you're not going to believe this. He said, I think that is the bait that I lost. And so sure enough, he, we were all excited about it and just thought that was so cool. I mean, like it had flooded and it had come all kinds of rain, and there had been all kinds of rain, and months had went by, and he had lost that crankbait. And he had lost it, but the same couple that lost it found it. And it was just neat, neat to experience that. And so he brought it upstairs and he took a washcloth, and Chris is really gentle on all of his stuff. So he started wiping it down, with the cloth and trying to wash it and get it good and clean to see if it was his. He knew it was, but just to make sure it was his and see if he could get it clean. And so anyhow, it wasn't even this clean, and he, but he was tickled to death that he was going to be able to keep it and use it. And, so then I told him, I was like, well, just leave it in the water and I'll work on it some, the rest of the week. And, so I left it in water. We left it in water overnight, and this morning it didn't look like it was going to do anything. And, so this evening I filled it with real hot water and, Dawn dishwashing liquid, and had let it soak all evening, and then I took a toothbrush to it, and it's still not really that clean. You can see, I mean, there's mud caked on it. I mean, you can look at the hooks. I mean, they're going to have to be replaced, but you can look at the hooks and see. And this little bait has been through it, And I was thinking tonight when I was washing it, and I was thinking about it and how special that little bait was to him, and him being the fisherman, and how special the little bait was to him. And then I was thinking about how that bait, he was fishing and he lost it, and it got hung up in some weeds and some trash and some stuff that had just caught it. And because of it, the line was going to hold on, but the bait wasn't going to let go of the weeds to come back to the fisherman. And so the only way that the bait could actually get free was to cut the line. And so that's what he did. And then months later go by, and this bait wasn't even thought of no more. I mean, I never even thought about that bait. Chris probably did, because he keeps up with all that, and it was his bait. But I mean, even when he kept saying that's the bait I lost, it took me a few minutes to remember what bait that even was that he had lost. And but I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how like that's us compared to a relationship with God, and how that sometimes we're the bait, and like this little bait, and the fisherman is casting us and, letting us do everything. And sometimes we grab a hold of stuff that's not real good for us, and that we get a hold of it and we hold on and we won't let go. And then the line that's connecting us to the fisherman to get us out of the weeds actually gets broken or gets cut because we won't let go of it. We're so tangled in the mess that we can't just let go. But then later on, even when other people have forgotten about you, like I did this little bait, there comes a time when you're found again. And just like, no matter how dirty it was, when the light shone on it, just a little bit of light shone on it, Chris recognized it as his bait. And I thought about how that's like how God is with us, other people forget about us and they look at us and they think, that would be good in a collection jar I have, never realizing that it still holds value to be a good bait, or never realizing that this was the bait that was lost, or this actually ended up even belonged to you. But you know how that the one that we belong to can always recognize us and pick us out of a crowd, no matter how dirty and how muddy and how filthy we may be, no matter how much cleaning it takes to get us back in tip-top shape. How that when the actual fisherman or the owner of us looks at us, how when the light catches us, how he sees the hope and the possibility of a future of using the bait again. And I was cleaning that little bait tonight, working on it. And it just, I don't know, that just came to my heart. And I've got a dozen kids in this house. Not really, I have 10. But, and there I am cleaning the bait and crying. But I just wanted to share with you all about that. And I could have just posted it on Facebook, that big long story, and it would have sounded better because I could have sat and edited and typed exactly what I wanted to say with a bunch of ums in there. But I wanted to share with you all. So I don't know, I just thought it was neat. So anyhow, this little guy, he's going to get used again, and we're going to keep cleaning him and redo his hooks, and he'll be back in the water in spring. But I just wanted to share that with you all about how, you know, sometimes we look at ourselves and we look at others and we just see the dirt and the gum and the what used to have been, that this used to be a good bait, and how the fisherman, you know, I mean, that's what Jesus is referred to as a fisherman, and a fisherman of life and fisherman of souls. And how when the fisherman looks at us, he can see beyond our mess and see the potential to be used again. And I just thought that was neat. So anyhow, I better go back to watching these kids because, you know, I don't know, they might kill each other on Fortnite and then get mad and really try to kill each other. But I love you guys.